You want to know how to measure sales productivity? I want to show you exactly how to do this. I have been running sales teams for over 20 years, and understanding how productive your team is or how productive you are, I think is the first step to increasing sales. I'm Amy Walker, Client Acquisition Specialist, and welcome back to my channel where I show small business owners and entrepreneurs how to increase sales through their organic marketing and also through scalable sales strategies. Here's my official warning on this video. You cannot measure without numbers. And so when we're talking about measuring productivity, you do actually have to go into the numbers. And I know some people are like, oh, numbers, they're the worst. But in this case, they are the best. They are your absolute best friend. And if you don't know what numbers you need to be watching and you don't know the story that the numbers are telling you, then it's a little scary. I'm going to be honest. There was that movie where Sandra Bullock drove her car blindfolded. I did not watch that movie, but I saw that scene. I was like, well, that would be scary to drive your car blindfolded. That's what I feel like I'm seeing every time I'm watching a small business owner try to run their sales without understanding the numbers. So if we want to get more productive and we want to measure, we're going to have to dive in. Okay, so the flip side of this coin is that once you start measuring productivity, you're also going to want really to know how to increase productivity. So I'm going to give you those tips as well at the end of the video. So we'll measure, then we'll increase. It's going to be great. Let's start off with the numbers that you do want to be tracking that are going to be indicators for sales productivity and the meaning behind them. The first thing that I look at is the number of leads contacted. These are the number of people that we reached out to, we attempted. Now, did we get a hold of them? Not all of them, we got a hold of some, but I'm looking for effort. What this number tells me in terms of productivity is my team working hard? Are we dialing? Or are they like, I'm gonna just, vacuum because all of a sudden I'm supposed to get on the phone, but my floor looks really super dirty. You do it. It's measuring the creative avoidance versus the actual getting in and getting the job done. And if the call volume is low, I know there's just not enough hours and activity that are going in. The second thing we're going to measure is contacts to decision makers reached. So this is the number of people that we actually got a hold of. What this is going to tell us is, are we calling at the right times of the day, and are we calling deep enough through our lead list? Very few people answer their phone the first time you call them. I mean, that's just the world that we live in. So usually what happens is first phone call, they look at it and they're like, oh, I don't recognize this number, and they don't answer. Second phone call, I don't know that person, and they don't answer. It's not until like calls number 4 through 6 that we really start to reach people. Now, sometimes someone picks up the first time. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying it's not the norm for it to happen. So if you are calling early Monday morning and you are trying to work with doctor's offices, don't call them early Monday morning. Everybody who waited all weekend long is calling them Monday morning. They are not available to take your call, right? So are we calling at the right times for a client, and are we calling deep enough? That's what that number is going to tell you. The next is decision makers reached to appointments scheduled. This is going to tell you how good you are at scheduling people. If your percentage is really low, then you have one of two problems. One problem is you're just not good at that, okay? Or the person on the phone is not good at that. The script is not good. Something needs to change. You need to do more training there. The other thing could be that you have a lot of unqualified leads and you need to change your lead sources. But that's what that piece of the puzzle tells us. The next one is one that I watch really closely, and I think most people don't pay attention to. It's your hold rate. What percentage of people that you schedule actually show up for their appointment, for their consultation, for their sales call? When that number drops, it really is amazing how much it affects the total lead volume that you need. I pay really close attention to this because it's very fixable and adjustable. It is worth spending effort to get your people to show up so that you don't have to have another 200 leads to hit the same sales goal because you're at a 50% hold ratio versus an 80% hold ratio. Like, it's a drastic difference on how many total leads you need. So I watch this one really closely, and this is an area that we are very proactive at working on. The next is the close ratio. So this is the number of people that you talk to compared to the number that you close. and then you figure out what percentage of the people are actually saying yes. This really measures our skill. It measures the skill of the person on the phone. So if this is low, we want to look at sales training. We want to look at how are we overcoming objections. We want to look at, do we understand how to create the value proposition? Like, we really need to work on our closing skills, because you want that number to be around 20% or higher. When people tell me, oh, I have an 80% close ratio, first of all, I rarely believe it entirely. Secondly, if it's true, then I know you are having very few sales conversations, and the ones that you're having are just coming through referrals. Either that, or you are priced way below market value, and that's why you're closing so much. So sometimes people are like, I want my closing ratio to be 60%. In reality, once you start getting in a lot of lead volume, it's hard to maintain those high numbers. But you should be 20% or higher. I think that's a good, safe place to shoot for. The next thing that we are looking at is closes to payments received. If this is low, what's happening is your closers are either getting yeses that are not real yeses, meaning they're like getting the client pretty close and they're assuming the yes before they've actually gone through and overcome those last few objections, so the client's not as on board. Or you're closing unqualified people who then can't pay you. Or the other thing that could be happening is your closer is not confident collecting money. And so they're confident getting the verbal yes, but they're not confident seeing the deal all the way through to the end. So these are the productivity markers. These are the numbers that I watch for that tell me how we're doing. Now that we know them, we can really pinpoint what is the part of the sales process that we need to increase so that we can be more productive. Because let's say that you are making a lot of dials and you're not getting a lot of deals. Making twice as many dials is not going to necessarily give you the level of deals that you're looking for, because you might have distinct areas in the process where your skill is the productivity inhibitor. It might not be effort. It could be effort. It could also be system. It could also be skill. And we want to really dive into what is the exact place that we need to go in and fix so we can increase that productivity. All right, let's shift gears now that we've talked about how to measure. Let's shift gears and talk about how do we actually increase the productivity. I want you to give yourself and your team a daily sales activity challenge. Now, this is going to look different depending on the number of leads that you have, but like, let's assume you don't have leads and you're like, I just want to get things started. Well, get 20 new leads per day and invite 5 people to have a sales conversation with you, and that could be yours. Maybe you're like me where you have a lot of leads coming through, and that's actually going to look like I need 5 different people calling 50 different leads every single day in order for us to just even get through the leads that we have. Whatever that looks like for you, I want there to be an actual measurable activity-based thing that guides the very first movement on the whole process. Because remember, if we're not making enough dials, we're not even going to get to all of those other areas. We just have to start somewhere, increase the volume, increase the effort. That's going to be a good first start with increasing your productivity. If these tips are helpful for you, I would love for you to like this video, and I would love for you to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification so you can get notified every time we release new content. All right, here's my next tip for you. I'm not saying you have to do this, but I am saying it really increases your sales productivity. If you are a business owner and you are still doing sales calls, do all of your sales calls on one day instead of trying to space them throughout the week. And then what's happening is you're jumping back and forth between the different hats that you wear in your business. You're like, let me take off my CEO hat and let me put on my sales hat. Now let me take off the sales hat and put on my fulfillment hat. And no, wait, now I need to jump back into sales again. It's hard. If you will give yourself one day, and that is your dedicated sales call day, where you are going through and just really focused, you can create a really amazing state of mind, focus on your energy, focus on positivity. You can gear yourself up for it and just stay in that space all day. You'll find that you have higher amounts of volume that close versus jumping back and forth. Now, maybe you have more sales calls than you can do in one day, and that's fine, but still block it out where it's like you spend the mornings doing sales calls and then the afternoons doing other stuff, or vice versa. I also recommend that you do the sales calls at the time of day or time of the week when you have the most energy and the most focus, because this is the high priority task. So really, don't try to shove it in between other things. I have been on sales calls where I said yes to doing it outside of my regular time, and I can feel myself getting ready to go on the call thinking, I hope they don't show up so that I can do XYZ that I need to get done. That, my friends, is not the way we should be thinking when we're getting ready to do a sales call. My next tip is to give yourself rewards. When you were working on someone else's sales team, you got rewards when you did a good job. So every time you close a deal, are you getting a reward? Every time you make 10 phone calls, are you giving yourself a reward? You've got to set that up because sales people need that consistent motivation. When I am running a sales team, every single Monday we're doing motivation. Every single time they are creating a win, we are celebrating them, and we do bonuses and we do fun things, and like we work to keep them motivated. Who's working to keep you motivated? Because it's going to have to be you if you're the business owner. My fifth tip to increasing your sales productivity is to have an accountability partner. So if I ever need to really get something moving, I will reach out to one of my biz besties and be like, hey, I'm working on something big. I really need to increase sales. Let's do a challenge together. I challenge you to a day of sales reach outs, and let's see who can get the most sales appointments set. Something along those lines that is going to keep you motivated, it's going to keep you moving, and it's going to make sure that you don't slip into creative avoidance and not do your sales calls because you're doing the dishes instead. If you want more sales tips, my best sales tips are inside of this book. It's called the I'm Not a Salesperson Sales Book. Sell like a natural even if you're not, and you can get it for free. Go to salesandmarketing.com and you can get your digital copy today for $0, and you'll love it. The next video that I want you to watch is the How to Scale Your Sales 15-minute masterclass. This is going to walk you through everything that you need to be able to build out your sales system, your sales processes, and really grow and scale those sales. So I will see you over in that video.